What is up? Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason, and we are back doing our second half of our top 10 films of 2012. If you caught our first show 8 weeks ago, or whenever it was, we did our bottom half of our top 10 films of 2012, which was number 10 through number 6. So this will be the second half. We'll be doing our number 5 through number 1. You also want to stick around to the end because we'll do our challenge films, and then if we brought any in, I don't know if you did, we'll also do our honorable mentions as well. So um, we got a lot of films to cover, so I say without further ado, we just kind of get right into it. So I'm going to have you
Yep.
go ahead and start this one off with your number 5 film of 2012, and I'll bring this in for you. And that film is going to be Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods. Yes. So this is a movie that was finally released in 2012. It had sat on the shelf for a couple of years because of some legal problems with the distributor, from what I recall. But it actually came out, and in the meantime, Chris Hemsworth had become a star thanks to Thor, because he's in the Cabin in the Woods, and then like by the time Cabin in the Woods actually came out, he had done Thor and become famous. So this is a really interesting. I guess you could say it's a horror comedy, but it's a very unusual horror comedy. It starts out basically seeming like just another kind of Evil Dead clone, where a group of sexed up college students are heading to the woods to spend the weekend at a cabin, and like all the hints are there that it's just going to be another movie where they go to the cabin and they get killed either by a slasher or zombies or whatever. And I don't, I realize the movie's almost 10 years old at this point. But for anybody who hasn't seen Cabin in the Woods, I'm not going to go into too much detail to what happens around the halfway point. But I'll just say that this movie, it deconstructs the genre in some really interesting ways. What seems like just your typical teens go out to the woods and get slaughtered movie becomes like something very, very different and very, very clever and smart, and a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So I'll just say, it seems like a very standard sort of movie, and it ends up in a very different place. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody who maybe hasn't seen it yet 10 years later. It's really funny. It's really scary. It's very creative. It's got some good cameos in there that I wasn't expecting to see. And it's just a really good time in the movies. And I've seen it at least, I've watched it at least 3 or 4 times. And every time I watch it, I notice something different, because it's one of those movies where the references, the jokes, the in-jokes, they just fly by so fast that you don't even catch them until you watch it again and again. But yeah, it's a movie that I totally love. Definitely, Cabin in the Woods.
Cool. Yeah, you already know I wasn't a big fan of it. I don't know. I just thought it was overall cheesy for me, so I didn't quite jive with it quite as much as you did. But cool, cool. It's been like 10 years since I've seen it, so
Yeah.
I just remember it being somewhat cheesy, and I see what they were going for, but overall, I just didn't care for that style, I guess. So
Yeah.
this wasn't for me.
That's okay. No one's perfect here. Don't feel bad.
I know. That's what I'm telling you. I'm pointing out your flaws. Just point out the flaws, man. That's all I can do. Cool, cool. I do know some people that like it though. So, if you haven't seen it and you want to see it and you like, that kind of stuff, then check it out. If not, then
Good
don't check
stuff. If you like good stuff, then check it out.
it. Well, moving on to my number 5. And I'll bring that in. It's one that I probably won't have to do a whole lot of explaining because almost everybody and their grandma has seen it, which is going to be The Hunger Games. So I really like this. Obviously, stars Jennifer Lawrence, set in the future. If you don't know the story, the basic gist is it's kind of set in the future where basically people are broken up into different districts and that kind of stuff. And every year they have like these annual tournaments called the Hunger Games where they bring basically champions, if you will, to like basically this like battleground where it's kind of like a battle royale, basically, where you have your champions, they go and they fight and they try to basically kill each other. But there's also people that are like basically behind the scenes, like watching and kind of manipulating the scenes and manipulating the what happens to people and that kind of stuff, because they want certain people to win, or they don't want certain people to win, and so they kind of get them to like fight each other, and they don't want them like completely teaming up and that kind of stuff. So but it's a really, really good action film. I really enjoyed it. It kind of took me by surprise. I remember when I first saw it, because I didn't know much about it. I didn't read the books or anything like that. I'm not a big book reader in that sense. So so I didn't really know much about it. So it kind of was better, way better than I thought it was going to be. Clearly, since it's number 5. Obviously, they made some additional sequels. I don't quite like the sequels as much as this one. I think I kind of like the second one, but I think by the third one, I was kind of getting checked out by that point. But this one I thought was a really, really good standalone film. So that's my number 5, The Hunger Games.
Yeah, I like The Hunger Games a lot. But like you, the first 2 movies. Actually, I think the second one is probably my favorite, actually. But the first one was really good. And I didn't read the books either, but I had pretty high hopes going in because it's part of a subgenre that I really like, and I know you really like too, which is kind of the I call it deadly game shows, sort of. You know what I mean? Like where the characters have to compete against each other, and the stakes are life or death. And it's part of like a like a TV show kind of setting almost for the masses. So it's like the Running Man, like Battle Royale,
Yeah.
like Death Race 2000 is
Right.
another one of my favorites.
Right.
So I love that kind of stuff. And this did not disappoint. And I thought like, that was right in the middle of that boom of like young adult fiction becoming movies, and Twilight's part of that and everything. So I had a good feeling going into this that it was going to be a little more, a little better than the Twilight movies, which it was. And it's pretty. It pushes the PG-13 rating in some ways.
Yeah,
Which
it definitely
I
does do
also
that.
appreciated.
Definitely. Yeah, it definitely does that. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really, really good fun film. So, yeah, if you
Yep.
haven't seen The Hunger Games, if you're one of the few that haven't, then highly urge you to check it out. And the second one, like you said, is really, really good. I think I still like this one over the second one personally, but they're both really, really good. So I enjoy both of them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
cool. All right, moving on to your number 4 film, and I'll bring that in for you, which is going to be Django Unchained.
Yep. Obviously, this is a Quentin Tarantino movie. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite filmmakers. Yeah, Django Unchained stars Jamie Foxx as a slave who is freed by Christoph Waltz, and then basically is trying to get back his wife, who is owned by Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays the villain in this movie. I think a lot of people have seen Django Unchained. It's I love it to death. It's probably taking into account that Quentin Tarantino is one of the few filmmakers that I would give every movie they ever made like a perfect rating. So I would give this 5 stars. But if I was forced to like rank them, Django Unchained would probably be in the bottom half, even though I do love it. It's pure Tarantino. It's very exciting. It's very violent. It's funny. It's a great movie. It's a Tarantino movie. It's awesome. It's probably in the bottom half of the Tarantino movies if I rank them, but I still love it to death. So I've watched it. It's very long, but I've watched it like 4 or 5 times, and it's never boring. That's for sure. So yeah, Django Unchained.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Same, it's 5-star movie for me as well. And me, Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director. I pretty much love everything that he does. The only film that I don't give 5 stars actually is a Death Proof. That's the only one that I don't give 5 stars to, but I still give it, I think, 4.5, which is still pretty high. So
for you especially, yeah.
yeah. So I love Django Unchained. It's just going to be up in my countdown a little bit, so I'll go into a little bit later. But yeah, it's great film as always. Tarantino it's just something about the way that he does his films that I just love that style, where it's got the humor, it's got the action, it's got some drama, and then also has great dialogue as well. All of his films always have really good dialogue, really, really good, engaging, engrossing scenes as well between 2 characters talking or 2 or 3 characters talking. And there's just something about the way he's able to bring that in and make it funny and make it interesting to where you're not bored or tired of them talking, because a lot of his films are a lot of dialogue, and everybody thinks of him like this like crazy over the top action director because he has a lot of action, a lot of really graphic, violent scenes in his films. But the framework of most of the films, outside of maybe like the Kill Bills for the most part, there is a lot of dialogue in it. It's a lot of scenes where there's not a lot of action. So, but yeah, definitely great choice. So,
Yep.
Cool. All right. Moving on to my number 4, and I'll bring that in. Which is going to be Into Watch. So I really like that one quite a bit. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pinion. They basically play two cops basically down in LA, and they kind of it's kind of like a day in the life of two cops down in LA to kind of get involved in like this investigation, if you will. They kind of stumble upon some things, and they're basically I haven't seen it in like 10 years either, so my memory's a little hazy on it, but it's kind of like a day in the life of like two cops. It's kind of like your training day, but they're not training, they're already cops, and they get involved in like all these different shady dealings with other police officers and criminals and things of that nature. And just really, really good acting, a really good like buddy cop kind of movie, if you will. And then obviously it's got a very kind of dramatic ending as well, which I didn't completely expect. But definitely one that I really, really enjoyed. It's one that I probably need to rewatch again. I just haven't seen it in like probably since it came out, but I do remember really, really loving it. And I had it in my top 4 back then, and I just kept it there because I haven't seen it in the last 10 years. So I don't know if it's going to go up or down once I do rewatch it. But it's definitely one that I love. And I'm always been a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. Michael Pinion's a great actor as well. I'm watching him right now in Narcos. So, it's always been a really, really fun actor as well. So that is my number 4, End of Watch.
Yeah, I love End of Watch. It would definitely be in my runner-ups for sure. It really took me by surprise by how good it was back then, because I don't know, I didn't realize going in just how intense it was. Like it's a great action movie. Like it's got like some amazing action sequences in it, and it's also kind of almost like a found footage film. I don't know if you remember that, but like not only is it day in the life, but it's like first person. A lot of it, not entirely, but large sequences of it are like first person, camera. So that gives it kind of a more immediate like rawness to it, But the acting is good. It's really super intense, and yeah, it's just a really good movie. And I've seen it twice. Like I saw it in the theater, and then I saw it pretty soon after it came out on Blu-ray. But I haven't seen it since then, so it's probably due a rewatch for me too, because it's probably been 7 or 8 years at this point. But yeah, it's a really, really good movie for sure. Good choice.
Absolutely. And moving on to your number 3 film, and I'll bring that in for you, which is going to be The Master.
Yeah. So this is another one we're going to disagree on, because I'm a huge fan of Paul Thomas Anderson, one of my favorite filmmakers. Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, many, many movies. And Kier's not a big fan of this director, but I think he's great. This is it's a movie sort of loosely based on Scientology, and the character played by Philip Seymour Hoffman here is loosely based on L. Ron Hubbard. They never say Scientology. He's got a different name, but that's clearly what they're kind of going for, is kind of telling the story of how an organization like that, some would call it a cult, grows to prominence. And Joaquin Phoenix plays this sailor from the Navy who is kind of insane and basically vulnerable to this kind of deprogramming sort of. And yeah, it's a very strange movie. It's a movie I haven't watched it in a while. I saw it twice at the theater though. And I'm not sure if I've ever watched it at home, but I liked it even more the second time. So it's a very strange movie. It's definitely not for everybody. It's got some very explicit stuff in it. But it's if you're a fan of Paul Thomas Anderson, if you're a fan of like really adventurous, unusual filmmakers, then this is definitely one you want to seek out if you haven't already. So yeah, The Master, great movie.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I didn't care for this one at all, and I've never been a big, Paul Thomas Anderson fan. Most of the films you just named, I didn't really care for most of them. I don't know, something about his style. I just don't like his style. I don't know if it's just too wordy or it's just not enough. Whatever it is, I just get bored watching a lot of his films, and they're all really, really long. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the running time is, but I feel like they're all like a half hour to 40 minutes too long, in my opinion. It's probably my biggest gripe because all of his films are like super long. They're all like well into 2 hours. You know what I mean? And so
I don't think Punch Drunk Love is, or Hard Eight, but that was his first movie. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are really, really long, and I think that's the general consensus I have with a lot of his films. They just, definitely needs to trim them down a little bit. This one is probably of the ones that I remember seeing. I think this one's probably my least favorite of his.
Wow.
So yeah, just didn't that I can think of. So I just didn't care for this one. I don't know. I just wasn't interested in the story for some reason, and just didn't do anything for me at all. So. But
all right.
A lot of people love it. So so hey, a lot of people are big, PTA fans. I'm just not. There's some directors that people love, and this isn't one that I love, unfortunately. So I don't know, just something about his style. I don't jive with too much. So, but just a personal opinion. Like I said, I acknowledge that a lot of people love it, and there are a lot of people that agree with you and they think it's a masterpiece. So I'm not going to debate you on whether it's a horrible film. It's just not my style. So, but cool.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's not for everybody, like I said.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know I have talked to other people that absolutely do love it. I'm just not one of those other people. So.
Yeah.
Cool. That was your number 3, right?
3. Yep.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. So I'm going to bring in my number 3, which is actually going to be Zero Dark 30. So yeah, I really like this film a lot. Just a really, really good film. Is basically directed by what's her name?
Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, sorry, Catherine Bigelow. She's actually one of my favorite female directors. She makes a lot of really, really good films. Near Dark, and she made what's the other one? She made the war movie,
The Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker, and this is another war movie.
Point Break.
Yeah.
Strange Days. Yeah.
Yeah, Strange Days. So she's a really, really talented director, and I've liked pretty much almost all of her films are really, really good. I really like this one. This one basically is the basically kind of like the hunt for Osama bin Laden is basically that story. So it's got a lot of different people in there. It's got a big cast. And basically it's just stars Jessica Chastain, who's basically the catalyst of hunting down Osama bin Laden. So she's basically gathering evidence, trying to find him. They're trying to, like, her and a team, they're basically trying to, like, link different people that have been caught or captured to basically track them back to Osama bin Laden, where he's living and how they can find him. So that's basically the gist of the movie. They deal with a lot of different things that happened over there that people felt one way or another regarding, like, waterboarding and torture and that kind of stuff. But really what sells this movie for me is the last half hour of this movie. And it's not a spoiler, anybody that knows that they eventually do capture Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
It's going to be that scene where they actually narrow in and kind of go after him. That is some of the most heart-pounding moments of the entire film, in my opinion. It's just so surreal because it's like dark and it's just like crazy, and there's like a lot of danger. There's going to be like a gunfight, a gun battle that happens, and it's just like one of my one of my favorite 30 minutes packed into the end of a film, because I was just on the edge of my seat, just couldn't wait to see how everything was going to unfold. So that's what really, really sells this film. So it's a really, really good movie. It is long, I will say that. It is a very long film. So if you don't have a patience, then but it's but it just zips right by because there's so many different things happening. There's always these cases where they think they have them and they don't have them. There's always these different avenues that lead down the wrong path, and there's always in danger because there's always bombings, and dangers of him being like kidnapped or killed and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different elements that are involved in it. But it's got like a really really good cast, a really good story, and that's my number 3 film of 2012, Zero Dark 30.
Yeah, I love Zero Dark 30. It's even a little bit higher on my list. It's yeah, just a really great movie. And like you, I'm a big fan of Catherine Bigelow, and she makes movies that are just really like intense and raw, and it's just like it just I don't know. I had a good way to describe it while you were talking, but now I forgot what it was. But the way she makes movies is just so like no nonsense, I guess you could say. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it just feels real. You know what I mean? Even though like I'm sure there's a lot about this movie that's fictionalized or just kind of conjecture. I'm sure a lot of it is based on fact, but
Well,
I'm sure
even Jessica Chastain's character, from what I read about, that she wasn't like the main in real life. I guess there was like maybe 1 or 2 additional people that she was kind of based on. So it
yeah,
wasn't like
composite.
so
Yeah.
so I mean they basically narrowed it down to just one person, but really it was a couple different people that she was supposed to be based on from what I read anyways. But it does feel really real. It just feels really gritty, really real. I mean, pretty much all the movie is set over kind of in the Middle East, like in Afghanistan and Iraq and Baghdad and all these places over within that area. And it's dangerous because they're still at war, they're still hunting, they're still fighting insurgents and Taliban and that kind of stuff. And so it's a very gritty film. So definitely. One that has and lots of action. There's a lot of action in it as well. So especially
Yeah, I just watched it. I just watched it again a couple of years ago. I think for probably the first time since I saw it in the theater, and it holds up really really well.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really well.
I
Yeah.
saw it last year. I think. I'm pretty sure I showed it to my fiance. I think I saw it like last year. But yeah, it holds up really really well as well. So just
Yep.
really really good action film for sure.
Yep. Yep. Excellent movie.
Cool. All right, moving right along to your number 2. Yeah. So I'll bring that on in, which is going to be Looper.
Looper. Yeah, I think Looper is a really phenomenal movie. It is probably one of the most unique science fiction films I've seen in several years. It stars Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the same person, just at different ages. And he plays a hitman in the future after like time travel has been made possible. And the way basically what they do is they kill people by zipping them back into the past and killing them and hiding their body. So basically it's a really efficient way of killing people. What they've come up with this time travel. Now that time travel is possible. And basically, it involves Joseph Gordon-Levitt being tasked with killing himself at an older age. It's kind of complicated to go into, but it's a very creative movie. It's got tons of action. It's Bruce Willis is probably the last really good Bruce Willis role there was really. I mean, he's just like all over the place these days, but this is the last time that he was in like a movie that I could really get behind. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is good. Emily Blunt is really good also. But yeah, it's just a really creative, action-packed science fiction movie, and it's the movie by Ryan Johnston directed it. And he's had a really interesting trajectory because he started with a really low budget but really good movie called Brick back in I think 2005 or so, around there. And then he did like another movie called The Brothers Bloom, which was okay. And then this one was like a real leap forward in a lot of ways to me. And then this kind of led to him being tasked to direct The Last Jedi, which of course was huge. So he's had a really interesting career, and then he kind of went back to his roots a little bit with his last movie, which was Knives Out. Still a big budget, definitely a big budget Hollywood movie, but it's definitely
Doesn't have
You know,
all
stepping
the special effects and that sort of stuff like these ones do. Yeah.
right, right. And one of the things I really like about Looper is I love movies. I love science fiction movies that have big ideas on a lower budget. Like you can tell this movie did not have a huge budget, but they work around it in really interesting ways. It doesn't have a big budget, but it has big ideas that it accomplishes on a medium-sized budget. So I really like those kind of movies that sell like these crazy ideas, but like through creativity as opposed to just like multi-million-dollar green screen shots. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I really love this movie a lot. It's one that I liked a lot when the first time I saw it, and then when I watched it at home, it really blew me away. And so I've watched it at least 3 or 4 times, and it's one of those that I think gets better every time you watch it. Yeah. So yeah, I love that movie.
Awesome. Yeah, I like Looper a lot. It didn't quite make my top 10. It would definitely be my honorable mentions. It's one that I also own, so I really like it. I haven't watched it in many years myself. Can't specifically put my finger on why it's not in my top 10. I'm not as big into sci-fi as you are, which is probably part of it. There's a lot of elements that are unexplained and some of the motives and things of that nature. Maybe I don't remember specifically, but I did like it quite a bit. It is a really, really good film. Definitely unique. So there's not too many films that deal with somebody going back in time in order to kill a younger version of somebody to stop them from doing something in the future, kind of thing. So that's kind of what I really like. I do like that concept that if you could go back in time and kill Hitler before he had a chance to, become, Hitler, would you do it, kind of thing. And that's kind of like the morality issue kind of that this film deals with. This is like, well, people can change and things that happen. You can put certain events in their lives to cause them to change. And that's kind of where this movie kind of goes in that direction at some particular point in time. Because you know that, something's going to happen, or someone could change just based on you telling them like, hey, you're going to be this bad person in the future. You need to get on the straight and narrow. You need to figure out kind of stuff. So I do like that concept. I think it's interesting to discuss that. But like I said, it just probably narrowly missed my top 10. So, but really, really good film though. Cool. All right. Moving on to my number 2 film, which we've already covered in a previous show. So that one should be quick and easy. It's going to be Silver Lining Playbook. So yeah, I really like this film. It's really, really good. Like I said, we talked about it in the first half of 2012. It was in Jason's top 10. I don't remember where you put it at, but
6 or 7 or something like that.
It was number 6. That's where it was. Yeah. Almost in your top 5. But yeah, I really like it. It's funny. I think it was well acted. I think it's got a great story, and it's essentially a love story, I guess, if you will. But it's a love story with people that are pretty messed up. It's the best way to look at it. It's a love story with people that both have some sort of mental illness. And we had this conversation on the last show about some of the knocks on it, about whether it's believable that these people could be this way and that kind of stuff. So I don't get into those kind of debates. I just take the movie for what it was. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It's got a great cast. Obviously, Bradley Cooper's really good in there. Jennifer Lawrence is great in there. Robert De Niro's awesome in there. Like I said, Chris Tucker, kind of a rare sighting for him, but he's really good in there as well. It's just a really, really fun film. And like I said, it has a lot of humor, has a lot of heart. And like I said, it's just a really, really good, love story, if you will. So one that I really enjoy. And like I said, it's number 2 for me.
Yeah, like you said, we already talked about this one last time, but yeah, it's a terrific movie. I'm a fan of most of David O. Russell's films, and yeah, that was a big year for Jennifer Lawrence because The Hunger Games and this movie that she got nominated for an Oscar for.
Exactly.
I can't remember if she won or not, but I'm not sure. But that was definitely the year that put Jennifer Lawrence on the map for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
A big way.
Kind of a breakout year for her for sure. So she had been in some other stuff that was really good. Like, I don't know, a lot of people really liked her in, I think, Winter's Bone or whatever. I didn't care for that one as much, but that was like a really film where she kind of got noticed because her acting is really, really good in there. I just didn't like the film as a whole all that much, but that's where she really kind of got noticed to start getting into some of these roles because, she's basically the lead or co-lead in this one and the Hunger Games. But yeah,
Right. Yeah.
great actors for sure. So
Yes. Yes.
cool. All right, and moving on to your number one film of 2012. Bring that in. Should be easy to talk about because we kind of just covered it, and that will be Zero Dark 30.
Yep, Zero Dark 30 was my number one of that year when it came out, and it's still my number one of that year. I just think it's hard to top that movie. I think in a lot of ways, and it's just an excellent movie. It is very, I don't know, it's just great movie making, and I'm a big fan of Catherine Bigelow. I check every once in a while to see if Strange Days is in print again, but it's just I don't know what's happening with that movie, but I don't think it's ever going to be released.
I think
It's
you're right,
released.
dude.
It's on Blu-ray in other countries. Maybe if I get an all-region Blu-ray player one of these days, but it's impossible to get here. Yeah, I still have my old DVD that's not even anamorphic. So if I watch it on a smart TV, it's just like a little square in the middle. But it's one of my favorite movies. I really wish whatever legal problems there are that are holding it up from being released in this country on a decent format. It's not even streaming. You can't even stream it anywhere. I don't know what's going on, but she's one of my favorite filmmakers. And this is one of her best films for sure. Yep.
For sure. Yeah, I already covered it, so you already know that I really, really love it, and it's great. Yeah, I'll actually make a point about this film when I bring in my next film. But yeah, this one's really, really good. Like I said, just a really, really good film all the way through. So definitely one that I highly urge anyone to watch. So, and like I said, top 5, top 10, even top 20, they're all good. They're all really good. So
yeah.
The Master's not in that list for me.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
I'll bring in my number one film, which, if you were paying attention, should be pretty easy to deduct. My number one film is gonna be Django Unchained. So we already covered it, obviously. I just love it. Like I said, I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. I'm pretty much anything he makes, I'm pretty much there immediately, opening night, whatever case may be. Like I said, I just love his style. I love his dialogue, the action. I just like his filmmaking. He always casts people, I think, that are like always like perfect in whatever roles he's going to cast them. And I feel like, I wasn't really that huge of a Jamie Foxx fan before this film, personally. But I know Jamie Foxx wasn't even his first choice from what I was told for this film. He was looking at I think Will Smith or somebody like that, or a couple other different people. But once it's been made, you're like, I don't see anybody else playing that role but Jamie Foxx. So, but you could say that about probably almost any film that comes out that's good. But
yeah.
But I really, really enjoyed it. I thought he was great in there. I thought Christopher Waltz was great. Leonardo DiCaprio was great. Obviously, Kerry Washington, Samuel Jackson. They were all really just an all-star cast. Everybody was really, really good. And they still have memorable lines even today. There's still memes from those movies. Almost all of his films have memorable lines and memes and that kind of stuff. So, which is a really, really good film. The one thing I wanted to say about my top 3, which was really, really interesting, and that I don't know if you knew this or not, but Zero Dark 30, Silver Linings Playbook, and Django Unchained, I give them all 5 stars, which is, for me, it's really, really rare. So 2012 was a really, really good year. So there are years where I actually don't give any films 5 stars. So I think last year, I don't think I gave any films 5 stars, but last year I'll give a break just because, there wasn't, everything was, streaming, and, there just wasn't, but yeah, that was, I can't think of any other year where I've given, in recent memory, where I gave 3 films 5 stars. I'm sure there's some probably from the 80s and early 90s when I was younger, probably, but not since I was an adult. I can't think of any other films that I've given 5 stars to, 3 films, 5 stars to in one calendar year. So, so 2012 was a great year, man. Just a great year for filmmaking. So,
yeah, it was a good
definitely one of the better years for sure. So, like I said, Looper didn't make my top 10, but I own it and I like it a lot. So that just tells you how good that year was, actually. So,
yeah.
cool. Well, did you have any honorable mentions, or I didn't bring any in specifically? So,
yeah,
I didn't touch on a few of them. I mean, I definitely know that I liked Looper a lot. I actually have my list pulled up here, actually. obviously, I like 21 Jump Street. I thought was good. I don't know if we counted Haywire as 2012 or 2011 or whatever case may be. I don't remember that one. That one was actually in my top 10 at one point. I just rewatched it recently, and it just kind of fell just out of my top 10 once I rewatched it. I still like it a lot. It is a little slow in parts. I know you're a big Steven Soderbergh fan, but sometimes I feel like some of the films are a little slower than they need be. You know, this film's supposed to be like this action film with like this big MMA star, you know, well, she's, you know, a lot of people talk about her now because, you know, the comment she's made at Gina Gardino or whatever, because, you know, her comments about Hollywood being like Nazism and that kind of stuff. But that was her first big acting role, basically, that kind of started her career. But rewatching it, I'm just like, there's a lot of slower parts in this film. There's a lot of dialogue that I didn't care about so much. You know what I mean? I didn't care about what their mission was about and that kind of stuff. So it just dropped down from there. Argo's really good. I Am Bruce Lee, Lawless. I had God Bless America in there. I think that's actually 2011 though, so I'm not really for sure. So, but yeah, and then those were and then like I said, Looper was in there as well. So, and then The Bourne Legacy, which I had you watch, which you weren't as big of a fan of. So those are just some of the ones that were off the top of my head. So
yeah. There was, you know, like you said, it was a good year. So there was a lot of movies I love. I do love Haywire. I like Seven Psychopaths a lot. Wreck-It Ralph I like a lot. Paranorman, 21 Jump Street. Jeff Who Lives at Home, I think, is a really nice movie.
That one was another one that's a 2011 for some reason. So I don't know, but I had it in this list, so I don't know.
Yeah, it must have been wide released in 2012. It's kind of hard to make it, you know, but it doesn't really matter really that much.
No one's counting, I don't think, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a good year. There's a lot of movies I liked.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we have our challenge films for 2013. So whenever we do that show, in another 2 months, we'll get going on that. So you had a film for me that you've seen that I haven't seen. So what is the film that you chose for me for 2013?
It was kind of hard to pick this time because there weren't too many that you haven't seen that I saw that I thought, you know, I want you to watch. But I think I picked a pretty good one, and that is The Bling Ring. Okay. So, yeah, it's a very good movie. Not perfect, but it's a very good movie, and it's your kind of movie in the sense that we both like movies about teenagers doing bad things. You know, I mean, it's not quite a Larry Clark movie. You know, it's not that, you know, extreme or graphic, but it's in that it's more kind of like a 13 or something like that. You know what I mean? It's a bad teens doing bad things movie, and we both kind of like those. So yeah,
sure.
I think you'll like it. Yeah,
I'll definitely will check that out. I had a tough time with you, not so much because there wasn't a lot, because there was a lot. There was a lot of films that I was surprised that you hadn't seen that year that I had seen. So there was definitely quite a bit. I ended up going with one that I really liked. Like I said, I know you're not huge into these types of films, but I went with Rush. Which is a really, really good race car driving film. So it's really, really good. It's obviously based on a true story. I think you'll like it. You know, I don't know if you'll love it, but I think you'll definitely, you know, enjoy it. It got pretty decent reviews. It also stars Thor as well in it as well. So yeah, I think you'll like it. Really, really good racing, kind of gritty race car film. So yeah, not like Fast and Furious or anything like that. It's more realistic. So.
Oh, thank goodness. Cool. Yeah, I never was opposed to seeing this movie. You know, I always kind of meant to see it, but it just never quite happened. So cool. Yeah, I look forward to it. It's a Ron Howard movie, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, join us next time, and we'll be doing not next time, but join us whenever we do our 2013, because I'm sure there'll be other films in between there, between 2012 and 2013. But we're moving right along, man. We're getting there, man.
Eventually this series will actually end.
Eventually the never-ending top 10 series will end, and then we can go from, like I said, we started with 1995 and We're moving our way up, and once we finish these, then we can go from 1994 and work our way back.
Back, yeah, that's right, yeah. Or no, we can start back from 1995 since it's been so long. We've probably changed it again.
Right, change the whole order all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to be taking a break from this for sure. I think once we finish these, I think we'll go back to some of our like standardized like list shows, like the Bag of Monies and that kind of stuff. Maybe we can think of some topics that we can talk about that, because you can go on those all day long. So, and those can be done on one show. We do like top 10 whatevers or top 5s, whatever. So I think that'll be. I think we'll go on that. Whatever we finish in December 2025 with this list, we'll start on those. So.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let us know down in the comments. Did you like these films? Any films that we left out? Any ones that we should be checking out or we should be seeing? Obviously, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we'll be back with another show for you guys again real soon. We thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.